When did your chronic illness start? When did your chronic inflammation start? When did your autoimmune start? When did your chronic pain start? Yes, I'm not here to say that there aren't organic causes, such as hurting yourself on the job, for example, for a chronic pain issue, or having something that the doctor diagnosed as a chronic issue. I'm not saying that your pain isn't real. What I'm saying is, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't go see a doctor because they're going to give you medications and things like that that'll make you feel better. What I do want to bring to your attention today is something deeper that I just want you to think about. Okay, I want you to think about when your inflammation started. Because I'm a somatic therapist and I've been working with intimacy issues for over 2 decades. And something that I see all too often is the correlation. And I want to just say this, correlation doesn't always mean causation, right? Like 2 things can happen simultaneously, and I can see that pattern over and over, but it doesn't mean that one thing's causing the other. However, I want you to think about that. When did your pain start? Because a lot of times what I see is people have a chronic pain, chronic inflammatory, chronic illness that started around the time that they began to lose themselves in their long-term relationship. Is there a correlation with when you stopped showing up in your relationship, when you started feeling like you had no libido left in your relationship? Because a lot of times those are correlated. Now, again, I'm not saying that being in the relationship is causing this, but what I do believe is a factor that it isn't often talked about is this concept of not speaking up for ourselves, feeling a lot of guilt for taking up space in a relationship. Oh, no, I feel bad. I shouldn't. Like that, I hear that so often in my office. Like, I feel bad. I shouldn't. And most of the time, I hear that from women. That is a symbol of suppressing your voice. When you feel bad and you don't show up for yourself and you end up suppressing something, a need, a desire, a want, something that's important to your well-being, and you start saying, no, I feel guilty. I don't want to take up space, is what I'm hearing you say. I am going to make myself smaller for this other person, for this other situation. I'm going to be the bigger person for my relationship. And we push down thoughts, feelings, emotions. And y'all, they have to come out somewhere. They've got to express themselves. Here's a revolutionary thought that all somatic therapists believe, that you may not believe yet. And that those feelings that you've repressed are somehow expressing themselves through your body. That autoimmune disease that you randomly developed when you got into perimenopause, or maybe earlier, maybe after you had your baby, or that illness you sustained, the injury you sustained on the job that lingers and won't go away. Pain lives in the body. This is not a new concept. The body keeps a score. We all know this from that book. P.S. I'm going to give you all some other books to read. You don't have to read The Body Keeps a Score. I'm going to give you some other resources, so hang tight. But really, this talk is about body telling you something. And I'm not telling you to leave your relationship, although you might. I'm not telling you to do anything like that. I'm not saying stop going to the doctor. But I will tell you this about the medical industry. Like, they can't fix your relationship. They're going to give you a pill. The pill's going to maybe help with the pain. They might write you a letter. They're going to give you lots of tests to say, oh, maybe your hormones are low and this and that, and you're wondering why your libido's tanking, all of those things. And I just want you to think about this. What pain is living in your body? What have you repressed about yourself, your identity, your being, your life to accommodate all these other people? Maybe your kids, maybe your husband, partner, or maybe a parent. I don't know who it is for you. But when we repress emotions, they will express themselves. And quite often they express themselves through the body in this weird form of where the hell did I get this strange autoimmune disorder? Where the hell did this come from? It's not a new concept. In Western medicine, in Western psychology, it's a new concept. But if you are paying attention to anything beyond what our current supremacist culture is telling you, you know that we have long known that these symptoms, when they live in the body, they are telling us something. Your body is telling you something. That's not new. I want you to listen, especially if you were raised with any sort of colonialism, church, things like that. Like, this is a fairly new concept for you, and it's going to take you a while to unpack this. So let's get started. Post some resources for some books that are written by written by people of color that are and women around this concept about pain living in the body and how it expresses itself. So stay tuned for that. Check the caption. I'm going to put those books down there. Thanks for listening.